Yes.
What's up,
yes.
everybody, and welcome to the Atheist Roundtable. Thanks for checking in with us this evening. As always, I am your host, Oz, and Jesus. Mike, what's going on, man?
What's up? Not much, man. I just celebrated with my family. They got me some Mexican food for finishing. Well, I didn't really finish school, but finishing the semester and almost being done with school. So if you're looking maybe at debates and things like that, and you've come across this video simply because you are questioning your faith, or maybe you don't know, maybe you're looking towards faith, maybe you're looking towards atheism, whatever it might be, just remember that you have resources available to you, whether it be recovering from religion if you are coming from a faith, the Secular Therapy Project if you're trying to have therapy that is more in line with a secular nature, and then also you have the Clergy Project for anybody that is within that realm of their faith or anything like that. But other than that, it's pretty normal stuff for me. I'm happy to try this new format out.
But before we jump into the conversation this evening, Mike, the one thing I do want to talk about is we just had a pretty awesome week last week. We had Objectively Dan from Truth Wanted. We had Godless Engineer. And then just this last Friday, we had Jenna Belk from the Atheist Experience, and which I felt was, they're all awesome, but Jenna was great. And I felt like everybody there really had a one hell of a show Friday night. So what are your takeaways? How are you feeling after last week?
I feel like I had a vision from, like kind of like a Joseph vision, and that I was told by the atheist God that you're going to talk to these really awesome atheist activists, and it came true. So so it solidifies my atheism even more, I guess. No, I'm just kidding. It was awesome for me just because I didn't expect anything to that level yet. I definitely was hoping at some point we would get them on. I was actually determined that we would, but not that quick. So that was really cool to just kind of have that happen. Cool.
The feedback from them is they had a great time, and I told the three of them, well, first of all, thanks for coming on, but we had a blast with all you guys. So it was good, and all of our subscribers that follow and watch on a regular basis all loved it. We've got great feedback there. So yeah, it was a great week for the Atheist Roundtable, and we look forward to many more of those in the future. So
you ready for a theist now?
Yeah. So we had about a week's worth of atheists. Now we get to dive back into talking about truth claims and beliefs with theist guests. And tonight we met this gentleman via TikTok, and had some great good back and forth, actually funny back and forth with him, regarding religious views and worldviews and things like that. But without delaying it any further, Matt, welcome to the Atheist Roundtable. And how are you feeling tonight?
Feeling good, man.
Good.
I did test positive for Corona twice, and I'm waiting for the third test. But other than that, I'm doing okay.
No, but Matt, thanks for coming on tonight, and we appreciate you reaching out and wanting to have this conversation with us. And we think it's it's a great platform to just have a good, healthy, constructive, an effective conversation. So for yourself and the viewers that will see this and are watching this right now, it's a very simple 3-question format: what, how, why. What's your story? What do you believe in? How did you arrive to that destination? And then why do you believe what you believe? So Matt, first and foremost, let's get to know you a little more. Tell us your story, and then at the end of it, just kind of wrap it up with what your current religious or worldview is.
My name is Matt. I'm 44 years old. I became a Christian when I was 18. Wandered down the path of religion for about 22 years, shortly after I was 18 years old. And then about a year and a half ago, that all changed. And now I guess I'm still a Christian, but just a different perspective than what I was before.
And you said you got saved when you were 18. Is that correct?
That's the first time. Yeah. I went to church when I was like 4th grade. I went with my grandpa, and I didn't really learn anything. I didn't know anything about Jesus. They talked about God a lot. That was about it.
Okay. And so were you raised in church, or was it some of your family?
No, I wasn't raised in church. My grandpa was a faithful, went to church every Sunday, would fall asleep a lot in the pew and grab my leg because I have ADHD and I'd move my legs all the time. And so that was basically my church life as a kid. And then when I was 18, something else took place.
I know you mentioned that there's, you have some different views than what you did before, but so for clarification, is it, a Bible believing Christian? How would you best title yourself?
Pretty much everything I believe is in the Bible. We have, Christians that are focused on judgment and everything like that. And I believe, like the Bible says, the judgment has already happened. We got John 12:31. It says, now is the time for judgment. We got John 9:39. For judgment, I have come into this world. So what people are waiting for has already taken place. I mean, if Jesus was the beginning, he was also the end. So, I mean, we have ideas like the rapture, which came from a woman named Margaret MacDonald who had a vision, and that was interpreted as the rapture. It was put in a Bible where it became popularized. So, I did some research on some of the things that people believe after this happened, because I'm like, well, isn't the rapture a thing? So yeah, I mean, a lot of my ideas changed after what happened to me a year and a half ago.
I would ask, would you, when you say that you believe in pretty much everything that comes from the Bible, would you, are you under like the sense of that it's inerrant, or that it does have?
I believe in the inerrant, infallible Word of God.
Okay.
But even the Bible says that the Word of God is Jesus Christ and not a book. So.
Okay. Yeah, I just want kind of clarification, not to push back or anything.
I can point out some things in the Bible that people try to explain away, but yeah, they're in there. So I don't worship a book, if that's what you're asking.
Well, yeah, it's good to know. So not everybody takes that same sentiment. So
no, they claim they don't worship a book, but everything. Yeah. If they call the book their authority over Jesus Christ, then they basically they're worshiping a book, basically.
Yeah, sure, fair enough. We could agree.
In my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, sure.
How did you arrive to your current religious or worldview?
It kind of leads up to that, but about a year and a half ago, I was kind of I saw this girl with a tattoo. I had a bunch of things on her continents and whatnot, and I was like, "What's that?" She's like, "Well, that's the Great Commission." And I was like, "Well, I mean, of course, I'm not." I wasn't like real, I did read the Bible many times, but then she's like, it's, preaching the gospel. And then like something in me was like, man, back when I was 18, I was having this, like, I was experiencing things and things like that. And now I am like, I'm, I have a lot of struggles in my life. I have like really bad anger issues. And I decided to just, I mean, I was already depressed, and I had anxiety issues, and I decided to just, I give up. You know what I mean? I'm not going to worry about anything. I'm going to wait till I die and let God sort it all out. And that's when things started happening, which changed my perspective. I would say supernaturally, which I know you guys don't like that word, but it happened without me doing anything to make it happen.
So when you say supernaturally and it happened without you making it happen, can you expound on that a little bit more?
I was overtaken by this feeling of peace and love and joy, basically. What the Buddhists would call Zen, like, happened to me. I wasn't doing any chakras or chants or anything like that. I was sitting in my living room when it happened. So nobody slapped a hand on my head and prayed or anything. I was just sitting here. And can I explain it? Can I go into science and be like, this is what I can't do that. I've been changed ever since. Things that I couldn't do before, I can do now, like love people that I'm supposed to hate. And also my anger is not like I don't like fly off the handle or anything like that anymore. I mean, sometimes I get a little upset on my daughter, but you know what I mean? I don't like threaten to beat her and like stuff like that anymore. Just it's not in me anymore. Like if that explains anything.
Well, first of all, that's awesome. Like good for you. Like first of all, the fact that you've arrived at a more healthy or stable, however you want to describe that place for you, your loved ones. That first and foremost, that's that's awesome. But what I would like to know, because we're in how do we attribute that to a supernatural? How do we attribute that to a God?
Well, supernatural in the sense that I naturally could not do that myself. There were people that I didn't like. And when I was in the more religious part of my life, there were people I was happy that were probably not going to make it like I was. Um, so, and that's like, I mean, that says more about me than it does the person that I would feel that against. So I don't know, man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still trying to figure this all out. This is a year and a half ago, and I'm still baffled by the whole thing. And so I heard this voice, not in my ear, but like this, I guess you could say it was a feeling that he was always here. He was never apart from me. And I, in my head, thought that I had drifted away because I was at the point where I didn't think I could come back. You know what I mean? That's why I was like, I'll just die and let him deal with it then. And that's when this actually happened. Yeah, basically.
Or,
Yeah, it's almost
we
undescribable.
can't
Yeah.
put it to words. So my follow up to that would be, if you can't describe it and you can't make sense of it, and neither can we, why
Yeah.
why is the default then God? Why is the default that we go to God?
I didn't really go to God. I was like, I'm just gonna just not even worry about it and just wait till the end, basically.
So when you had that, and you had a similar experience when you're 18, where you had a feeling, or you heard a voice or feeling, as you said, and you can't describe that because it's not an audible voice, so you can't really demonstrate it. Why? Just because you can't demonstrate it or explain it
Yeah.
to somebody, why does that automatically attribute it to a God?
Because it was something that would happen to me sometimes when I would read the Bible, and sometimes like when I was in a church. Like the church I used to go to was like a charismatic church where you had about 1,000 people sitting there experiencing the same thing I was. And like to describe it, it's like you're high. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, it's like you did some drugs basically. So, but there were no drugs involved. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I mean, you usually have to do drugs to get high like that. I mean, people seek pleasure in things like drugs, and when it just comes, how do you explain that? I mean,
Yeah, well, so I would want to actually kind of know how you would, and maybe you don't audibly hear God or anything like that, but when you talked about like the feelings you would get, I'd want to know how you would differentiate your own independent feelings from perhaps the God being behind it. Like, how would we go about potentially determining the root of that feeling?
okay, well, originally our thoughts, if you actually study it, they don't really come from the conscious self. They come from, I guess, what you would call our subconscious. Like if you ever notice a thought pops in, we dwell on that thought. And shortly after the dwelling of that thought is when we get these feelings.
Leading in from, you talked about the feelings that you got within yourself. So I don't want to paint it as like God audibly speaks to you or anything, but I would want to know, how would you differentiate the independent feelings that you're just having, whether it just be from yourself as opposed to a God being the root of why you're having those feelings?
Because I can't get like that by myself. I mean, it was like I was overtaken by this. Yeah.
Okay, so would you be willing to ever like look at the fact that it could be something else, or are you pretty dead set that this is the root? I'm kind of trying to see your confidence level.
I mean, my thing is that it like came out of nowhere. I mean, there's a possibility that like, I mean, I can't say I worked myself up because I wasn't doing anything to work myself up. I was sitting in a chair, and it just all of a sudden it came, and it was just like, I was like, wow, like.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of like being high. I've done drugs in the past in my life, and that's what it kind of felt like. Almost like ecstasy, like the love drug. Like I was just like, I don't know.
Do you think that feelings would be the best way to determine whether or not?
I know they say no, but we do have feelings, and our feelings can stir us in different ways and things like that.
Sure. But would you rather
So-
have evidence or would you rather have your feelings?
I like feelings. If there was evidence, undeniable evidence that I somehow worked myself into that, then maybe I would believe it. But even still, like I couldn't. There's no way that like you go from hating somebody to loving somebody. I mean, that's just it's for me that's impossible because love for me was just. I mean, it was like, I loved one person or my kids. There wasn't like just people like you guys randomly that I don't even know that I just feel like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
A lot of Christians are like, well, he's an atheist, blah, 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 this and that. Like when we're in religion, we're actually taught without them saying it, people we're supposed to hate and we're supposed to call that love, basically. And that wasn't why I didn't like some people. I was just
Well, but
would you say
that love is tied into why you're firm in the belief that you have?
Yeah, because it's not coming from me. I mean, it's I can't do that. I can't do that on my own. Like I can't love somebody like just random people that I've never met, like people that I'm supposed to be hating and even people that hate me. You know what I mean? I have people that actually literally hate me.
Sure. Well, could we do a hypothetical? Like,
Do a hypothetical. That's
so if you were to talk to somebody who is a Hindu or someone of maybe the Islamic faith or something like that, and they tell you that they get the same feeling from their God, we'd probably both agree that they both can't, exist. One God has to exist in that.
I don't exactly agree with you. I believe God loves every single person, and it's not a requirement to be completely right about him.
So hold on. Let me finish the hypothetical though. So the hypothetical would be if the Hindu or the Muslim is getting the same thing and they're claiming it's from their God and you're claiming it's from your God, and clearly it has to be from one of those gods, or no gods at all.
Yeah.
Would there be a way that we could test that, or do you have to do you basically just have to kind of have that faith that it's that it is that God? Because it kind of sounds like you're going from happiness and having like a huge ontological gap to God. I'm curious how you make that leap.
I mean, these things are written in the Bible about like these same that people experience these things according to the Bible. And I mean, that's not really why. It's just an internal knowing where it's coming from. Now, I could be wrong about, no, I don't know, because when you actually read like a lot of people read the Bible wrong. We think like in a lot of creation stories, we were actually created to serve the gods.
If the person of the Islamic faith or the person of the Hindu faith has the same things in their scripture and it says similar things, why is the standard being dropped from their side and it's more reasonable on the Christian side? Because there's got to be some kind of element that separates that from the other faiths if they have the same details, correct?
Well, Jesus is actually a completely different God than all the other ones, in the sense that he came as a servant. The reason why I think Jesus is the true God is because he's completely different than all the other gods. He came to reveal that we're not merely servants. We are part of this whole thing. He came to serve us, and he even said, "The greatest among you is your servant." So
what his word alone on that is enough to you, is basically what you're saying.
I know, because I've actually myself, without my own efforts, have come into this. This is my life now. I don't see myself as greater than the prostitute or the person who shoots up heroin or the homosexual or anything like that. I see we're all the same under the same God.
Sure. What if you found out that, say, in John, for example, we found out that a lot of it's a forgery, and I'm just kind of using examples. So we found out that because John is the last known written gospel, that it actually wasn't the version of Jesus that it's portrayed, and actually, say, Mark's version of Jesus is more accurate, just hypothetically. Would that change your view on Jesus? And I'm not saying that is the case. I'm just kind of going through a thought experiment of, if we find out that, say, an element in John is not true, or that Jesus, and to bring actual, I guess, biblical scholars into it, a lot of biblical scholars would even agree that things that Jesus never said. If you found out that was true, just hypothetically, would that change your belief at all, or would that lower your confidence?
To answer that question, I'm going to explain part of the experience when I was 18. Like, I had never read the Bible. I had never, I didn't know a verse. You know what I mean? Like, my friend was on meth and he met this girlfriend who was a Christian, wanted to help him out, and he didn't want to go to church by himself. And I ended up going there. Now, there were things that happened before I went to this church. Like, my friend, we were sitting in an alley drinking, and he's like, we're all going to hell. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, we're going to, you have to ask Jesus into your heart. So like, I got a little scared. I was asking Jesus into my heart, and then it just fell into this church thing. And my intention was, he wants to go. I'll go with him. The guy was talking about football stories. He wasn't preaching the gospel or anything like that. And this whole time I had this feeling. I didn't, like, in my mind, I didn't associate it with the Jesus come into my heart thing or anything like that. I mean,
yeah, but if somebody had told you Lord Vishnu, would you have to accept him into your heart, and then you had the same feelings, would that be enough evidence to say that now Lord Vishnu is true because of that connection that you've had?
That's the Hindu. I mean, I could have ended up. What is that? A Hindu god? I could have.
Yes, I was trying to clarify. Hindu.
He's the Hindu. Is he the Hindu Jesus, or is that the other one that's supposed to come back?
If your belief in God was mistaken, how would you go about discovering that?
What would change it for you? I probably wouldn't feel the way I do now. And I would probably, which I've done a couple times in my life before this, what I know now is just go back into the religious wilderness, or I would become an atheist, I guess.
Sure. It sounds like you put feelings really high up there. And so, like, I'm really into standards of evidence. I think that it's huge.
I know you are.
That I don't believe. So
and
I'm curious on whether or not you think that feelings are, like, because it sounds like it's rooted a lot. I feel like if you go back and you listen to the things that you said, and not to put it in a bad light, but you highlight, I feel this way, or this makes me feel this way, or I just felt this, I couldn't feel this way without it being true.
Yeah, I honestly do.
But I'm curious that, would you value the evidence if the evidence was presented, or would you kind of go back to your initial feelings? Because I'm wondering if that's going to if that skews your ability to actually, and not to say you're wrong, I just think with any beliefs that people hold, you should be able to kind of look back on it. And do you think that would skew your ability to potentially re-examine it?
It might. I know there's a lot of like what people call contradictions in the Bible. Now, there's plenty of people that can explain it away, but what people actually do when they read the Bible is they actually process this information and fit it into their own reality. It's possible I'm doing the same thing based off of my feelings.
I appreciate your honesty with that, by the way.
Yeah, but the thing is I haven't had a bad day since. I've had moments in this time that, like, I was in doubt. You know what I mean? I've had visions that like I might have interpreted incorrectly. And like I'm learning from this. Like, I get a vision, and it's like, it's not for me to interpret. That was just given so that that was, to me, that's evidence, even though I don't understand. Now, some of the visions that I had, I do understand, which is why I think that there's a lot of people waiting for promises that have already been fulfilled. And sometimes I'll like, I guess what you could say, receive something. Like, I don't know how the neurons, whatever you call it, in the brain, but then I'll watch something that they put out, and it's like, my gosh, I mean, this is just something that I was pondering on, and now they're saying it. And it's kind of odd how that works. And that I'm not calling that evidence. Like, I didn't come here to give evidence or proof. Like, if God is real, he surely doesn't need me to defend him. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, that if the God existed, it would know exactly what experience I would need to believe in it. So hopefully it would be capable of that. I had one last question, and I kind of want, this might be, and this could lead into something. I just want to kind of ask you a question. So there's a dilemma in philosophy known as the Euthyphro dilemma. Do you think, like, if we use, say, maybe the problem of evil or something like that, where you get 9 million children that die every year, like horrible deaths.
Yeah.
Do you think that he is impotent, like unable, powerless to help them? or would you think that he's unwilling? Where would you stand on that?
I believe, and you're going to think this is crazy, but I believe death is only a physical reality, because we are eternal. So when we see somebody die, we're like, oh my gosh, that's the end. You know what I mean? This and that. But I don't see it that way. And it comes down to consciousness.
So would he be impotent, or would he be? So is he unable but willing, or willing but unable
to kill people, or what?
to help these potentially 9 million suffering children, or people that
he's able to do it. Yeah.
So you think he has the power to do it, but there's a greater purpose or something like that, essentially?
I would call myself dead inside before this happened. Yeah. And now physical death is something different. Like, I didn't really know, like, there were like times in my life where I encountered strongly this like feeling alive, you know what I mean? And then of course, when you get into religion, I mean, you die pretty quickly. So, I've been dead too. And in these encounters, it's almost like I was like brought back.
Why do you feel that you felt the need to preface it with, this might sound X? Why did you feel like you had to defend it before you said it? I'm just
because
curious.
Even Christians call me crazy.
but is it? Do you think it's any element that in your mind you kind of know it doesn't kind of add up in a sense, or is it just like what would be the reasoning behind having to say it?
There are millions of people that experience the same thing I do, I mean, because I'm possibly because of lack of evidence. Like, I can't as much as I want to, I can't make this happen to you. You see what I'm saying? Like, okay. We feel like we have to save people, and we can't.
I don't want to take up all the time, but Oz, if you want to hop in and kind of chime in on where we left off.
If you could give me a level of certainty you have in your belief in the God that you believe in, that you serve, and you can do one. We'll just do a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being I'm not really that sure, or 10 being absolutely I know that he exists and he is God. Where would you put yourself on that scale?
Well, the question is invalid for me because I don't serve God.
Okay. See, but you believe in a God. You believe in a God.
Yeah, I believe in him because he's awakened me to another reality. That most people who have been going to church for 50 years have never seen. And this is why I've been blocked by Christians and everything like that, because I've read the Bible multiple times. And in this experience that I had, after 5 years of not even picking it up, these verses are coming to mind that I don't remember seeing in there. And so I would Google what I would, I guess, receive or whatever. I don't know how to explain how this works.
So the God, so I'll take away the word serve away, but the God that you believe in, on that scale 1 to 10, what's your confidence level that your God exists?
It also varies. I mean, like, sometimes it's a 10, but I mean, I still go through like, like, could I be wrong? But then I you know what I mean? Like, the way my life is now, I mean, I couldn't make it myself like this. So, and then, so sometimes I would say I was a 10, sometimes maybe an 8 or 9, you know what I mean? Like, on a certainty level, but as far as theology goes, there is no certainty for me. Like I believe certainty is actually the opposite of faith, because to get comfortable in a certainty, like, I was very certain in the theology I had before, and I come to find out that I was wrong about almost everything.
I appreciate that you're being intellectually honest and saying, some days it's an absolute 10, other days maybe it varies. I think that's a very honest question, and I appreciate that. So my follow-up that would be, Matt, what this recent experience you had a year and a half or so ago, what convinced you that your God is real? What was the convincing factor?
He did.
Okay, how? What did that look like?
It just looked like we say the word repents, like it's like we got to turn from sins, but it's actually a change of mind. Like, and it's this change of mind that actually, like, it's actually a fruit of salvation. It's not something we do before salvation. I'm using terms But what I'm saying is, like, without any previous knowledge, like, I suddenly just knew things that I didn't even believe before. And it was like the verses came to my head, and I just like, this isn't, I mean, I know I read this before, it never popped up, and I know, like, because I have seen it, maybe it popped up, it came into my head. But
And Matt, the follow-up question to that is, as far as the certainty of your claim, and really make sure we focus on that, and what has convinced you that your God exists, is I want to make sure I heard you right. I don't misrepresent, but it really was just an experience or a feeling that you had. Is that accurate? I want to make sure I'm hearing you right.
um yeah, it was an experience and there were feelings in that experience, but they were overwhelming feelings that I could not control.
Do you believe that is a proper pathway to find truth through experience and feelings?
To find truth, I mean, I could have been looking somewhere else, and this could have happened too. I mean, it's not like like I said, like, it was something I couldn't control when it happened. So
I'm trying to get down to, because whether it's experience or faith, those are for me are not pathways to truth. Those are just personal experiences or personal feelings, or it's just believe it because there's a lack of evidence.
okay, when I was in my religious days, I had great faith, right? And it wasn't until my faith crumbled that I actually, like, so basically, I realize now that I never had faith, and I still don't have faith. Um, and how I understand faith now is that there is only one faith, and it's the faith of Jesus Christ, and it's His faith that saved us. So our faith is basically trust. So, um, and that's hard too. I mean, to trust somebody you can't see, or but like, we can't, like, for me, I can't build up or muster up or drive up some faith. That's just impossible for me. So that's why the Bible says faith is a gift. Like, it doesn't, faith comes by hearing. It's not like faith is required for salvation, which most people believe. It's like, why are you saved? Well, I have faith. No. And when Jesus was saying, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you go up to anybody in that time and say, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you got the religious leaders that be like, well, I have way more faith than that. He's saying, if you just decrease it a little bit, maybe I can do something with it. Because these people were boastful in what they did, their own efforts. So, and I was like that too. Like, I did something to get saved. Therefore, and I would try to determine whether somebody was saved based on my theology. And that's something I don't do anymore, because I understand things a lot differently than I used to.
Okay.
So as far as faith, I don't even rely on my own faith or my own ability to believe.
And we can't put an experience to the test. How are you convinced that this God is real? How are you convinced that your God is real?
How was I convinced? I mean, I can only go by experience. And you're right. I don't think we can test it. It's not something we can test. I think every Christian on here has probably told you that we can't actually test it. If you're looking for physical evidence, and you don't, I mean, we see how things work, because science tells us this is how this works, this is how this works. And now you got the Christians that are like, okay, that's how God did it. And then you look at the evidence and you say, well, this must mean, because we know how it works, that must mean that there is no God. People interpret evidence differently also. You see what I'm saying? Like, based on their ideas or perspectives. So, does that make sense? Or
Yeah, I mean, that's part of language. Is you can use different words, really any old way you want them, but there's the common
yeah,
usage, of words. And again, just keep in mind, Matt, and for anybody listening to this now and in the future that that come on here, we want to dig into this. And yes, you're right. There are many theist Christians that say, well, we can't demonstrate it. That's fine. That's usually the answer. But what we want to find out is then why. If we know we can't test it and we know we can't demonstrate it, why do you believe what you believe. So my last maybe question or two here. So knowing all that, we talked about that, and this is actually I think a great spin, back to the final point of the why. Knowing everything that we just talked about, then why do you believe, Matt? Why do you believe what you believe?
Why do I believe what I believe? I mean, I don't want to say I hear from God, but I mean, yeah, I guess I do, not audibly, but like when those Bible verses were coming into my head, that didn't come from me. I hadn't picked the thing up for 5 years, and these verses don't remember seeing in there. And here it is. It's like being kind of spoken in a way to me, or like it's popping in my head, and that wasn't the feeling. It would just like, boom, it was in my head. And I was like, and I had to think, was that really in there? And then like, okay, so for about a week and a half, when this experience happened, it was a week and a half, and it was like, I mean, I was wondering if I was crazy, but I just had I had some visions. I was high as a kite, and I didn't do anything to get high. I was just sitting in my living room. So either something was pumping through the vents, and basically I was pacing around the island of my kitchen while there was these things were coming to me. And like I said, you can't test that. You can't physically, I can't show you. Maybe if somebody had something hooked up to my brain, there were some probably things going off or whatever, but you know what I mean? Like I'm still trying to you know what I mean? Like I'm trying, yeah, I can't put language to this. You see what I'm saying? Like,
one thing I know from being in Christianity for 30 years, it's really easy from a biblical standpoint to give all of the credit to God when something good happens, like when we feel good and we have a good experience and something goes right in life, something, we get a good job, or whatever it is. Like we say we, as Christians, it was, oh man, all glory to God, and God was in control. That was part of His plan the entire time. But then as soon as some bad shit happens, it was us, because we're this sinful nature, we're the sinful man, and it was due to our bad decisions that all this bullshit happened. And I'll tell you, I'm and I'm very public with my past. I'm former drug addict, and did all kinds of dumb shit. Guess what? There wasn't a God that saved me. There wasn't a higher power that saved me. It was, I wanted to be better, and it finally clicked. And my desire to be better and healthy and happy overtook my desire to get high or party or anything like that. So I want to make sure that we always give credit to the human, because we as atheists, the humanistic part of it is that will to survive, that will to win, and to be healthy. I don't think we give ourselves enough credit as human beings. All right, well, Matt, thank you for being on tonight. We appreciate it. You've been an awesome guest. You kicked ass tonight, and we look forward to having you on again here in the future. And guys, remember, we're going live. The official TART live show is happening right after this episode. You want to be there. You want to be in the comment section, and we're going to have a blast, have great conversations. And as we wrap this up, we will have final thoughts with Jesus Christos.
Yes, sit back, unwind, because it's Final Thoughts with Jesus Mike.
Okay, so we had a lot of talk today about really essentially the feelings that have brought Matt to his belief and the experiences and things like that. I wanted to give a touch upon things that, and me and Matt kind of had a conversation about this a little earlier, but I kind of wanted to do a comparison. And you had mentioned that the feelings kind of, made you elated, basically to the point where you felt like it couldn't have come from you. And I have a very similar experience in that I wasn't a very good student going into school when I first tried, 2013-ish. I had a really bad GPA, in the ones, I'll put it. And the second knowledge became cool to me, and the second I got utterly destroyed in a flat earth debate with somebody online, and I had to go, really go research, to make sure I didn't embarrass myself. I came out of it having a huge love for knowledge, to the point where it's made me a happier person. It's made me succeed in the things that I do. I have a better relationship with people like that. And I have that very similar emotion. I would want to know your thoughts on that. Like, would you say that do you think that I had that on my own, or do you think that that would be tied to the same feeling from the God that you believe in?
I think that would be tied to God. I mean, the way I see it, there's nobody who's actually apart from God. Separation from God is an illusion. I'm not going to go into detail. Like, we can go into the garden thing another time, but I don't see two trees, two people, and a talking serpent. That's not what I see in there. I see every person and mankind, and it has to do with consciousness. When we become self-aware of ourselves, we see ourselves as just this person, as in this body. When before, as toddlers and the unconsciousness, everything is one. There is no distinction between self and other. And there's a whole part of ourselves that we don't know, and that's our unconscious self. It's still there. It affects us on a daily basis. It's the part we can't control. And I think it ties into that too.
But I think that what this does for me, and why I kind of want to have you on the final thoughts, was that I think this leads a pretty good point to have a conversation, especially since right after this video, we will be doing a live official TART show for the first time. And I think if you come back on that and we have a conversation, or maybe in one in the future, we can lead off on this conversation and kind of use a point from each of our positions, where I think it's a completely secular based thing that can be explained by neural correlates and things of entirely natural means, whereas you kind of have the more metaphysical supernatural. And I'd love to do two things. One, to have that discussion and just kind of see where it goes. And then two, maybe challenge each other to see if whether or not we can try to put each other in each other's shoes with those feelings, and see if, maybe we word it like, I'll look more inward towards the God belief, and you look more outwards to maybe a natural explanation, and just kind of reconvene on that conversation and see what it does. What do you think about that?
I'm open to that. If I don't make the live stream, I definitely would like to be on your show again. Like,
awesome.
I enjoyed this experience. I love to conversate with you guys. I mean, as you can see from the comments, sometimes when we read texts, we can interpret it our own way when we read them, and talking is a more better way to understand each other, instead of reading. So
yeah, the ad hominem attacks are easier on text for sure. I'll throw that. But Matt, again, we really appreciate you coming on and being part of the new format here. And everybody stay tuned. Do not go far, because we will be right back in a short bit of time. So with that, much love, and be safe, everybody.